Have you ever wondered why we feel pretty great when we buy a new car or a new house or even get a new job, but only temporarily? After a few days, weeks, or even months, it feels like just another thing. If this is you, you're not alone. There is actually a psychological term for this called Hedonic Adaptation or Hedonic Treadmill. In this video, we're going to discuss all about the Hedonic Treadmill and if there's any way to even beat this feeling. So let's get started. Hedonic adaptation or hedonic treadmill refers to people's general tendency to reach a baseline level of happiness despite life's ups and downs. This is a term that's heavily studied by positive psychology researchers and also people who focus on happiness and well-being. The biggest downside of this feeling is that for you to feel that same level of happiness and excitement the next time around, the stimulus needs to be more and more intense, thus making us want more and more out of life. Let's start with some powerful examples of hedonic adaptation in the world. In 1978, a set of researchers at Northwestern University and the University of Massachusetts did a study on two very different groups. One group included recent lottery winners of the Illinois State Lottery, and the other group included victims of catastrophic accidents. The two groups were asked many different questions, which included a question on how much pleasure they derived from everyday activities. This can include things like meeting a friend, eating breakfast, watering your plant, etc. The results, though, surprisingly reported that the recent accident victims derived more pleasure from these everyday activities than the lottery winners. Isn't that really surprising? Are we really saying that the accident victims are more happy than lottery winners? Not really. This is not to say that you can be more happy after an accident, but rather that the initial pain and sorrow and suffering that's experienced by the accident victims and the happiness and excitement that's experienced by the lottery winners eventually reaches a certain level of baseline, but the accident victims did not continue to experience the same amount of sorrow as we may have expected. But this study continues to be one of the stark examples of how hedonic adaptation actually works. Then there is also the set point theory, which says that our subjective well-being is largely dependent on genetics, and it's based on the personality traits that we acquired very early on in our lives, which kind of remains constant. Our happiness levels can keep changing based on different life events that we experience, but we eventually all reach a baseline level of happiness. And this type of habituation can happen on different aspects of our life like health, marriage, wealth, you name it. A full 50% of our happiness set point, research has determined that it's largely due to genetics, where 10% can depend on life circumstances like where we are born and to whom, and 40% remains within our control, and we have some influence over it. There are, of course, a lot of critiques to this methodology, especially on the heritability factor across different researchers, but the fact of the matter remains that a large part of this happiness pie is still within our influence. So, the big question is, can we beat this? Are there ways to actually jump off the hedonic treadmill and find lasting happiness in life? In this video, I want to share a few ways of going about our life and experiences and some shift in perspectives that can bring us more contentment and happiness that aren't just spikes and crashes. These strategies are also evidence-based and are really well researched. I will link all my sources at the bottom of this video. First is finding ways to add some kind of novelty to your routine. As someone who works a 9-to-5 job, I always found my Sunday evenings to be dreadful, imagining how busy and chaotic my week was about to get. And I found myself crashing on Friday evenings, not having the exciting end to the week that I was looking for. But breaking this monotony once in a while by adding a midday walk during the week, or going out to lunch with my husband on Fridays, or even skipping baby's bath to drive to a spot nearby, all of which made me feel more alive and energetic than just sticking to a very rigid routine and living life on autopilot. Another approach is to spread out these small pockets of joy throughout the week so that you can have these tiny moments of joy packed in on an everyday basis instead of making yourself wait all week for that one big thing in the weekend. Next is finding gratitude for everything that you already have in your life. There are actually a lot of wonderful things about feeling grateful in life, but I particularly want to mention this one study that was done. This study was conducted during the COVID-19 pandemic, which found out that the stress and negative effects that people experienced during the pandemic actually decreased with a brief gratitude journaling intervention. When we talk about gratitude journaling, we typically refer to writing down 3 things that we are grateful for every day, but there are actually a lot of different ways you can do this in a more creative manner. These interventions can include things like gratitude journaling, writing letters to others thanking them for something nice that they did for you, making a list of events that happened to you which you are grateful for, and even recalling and writing about an experience that you enjoyed very much in life. These activities are known to increase your positive emotions, thoughts, and behaviors, which can lead to an overall increase in your well-being. Third is focusing on people and experiences rather than material goods. Of course, there are certain material goods that we acquire in our life that leads to a way better quality of life. But if you see yourself being in a pattern of going after one material good after another, you might actually be running so fast on the hedonic treadmill towards an unsatisfying life. Sometimes this behavior gets wrapped up sweetly in this term called retail therapy. If you find yourself indulging a lot in retail therapy, then it might be time to dive a little deeper into yourself and find out if some of those purchases are coming from seeking external validation and other important pursuits in life that do not offer instant gratification, like your long-term growth, relationships, or experiences, are getting deprioritized in order to accommodate for those material goods. Altruism, or acts of kindness, has been shown to bring people a lot of happiness. This is not to say that you have to go out of your way and do certain acts of kindness for your own personal happiness gain or ego boost, because altruism should always be focused on truly helping others. This can be really small, like mentoring a new employee at work, or volunteering your time for a good cause, fostering a pet, or being more intentional with your money and allocating a part of it to people that might need it more. There is no limit to the number, variety, or the extent of these acts of kindness. All the 4 different ideas that we discussed so far expect you to change something about yourself or do something a little differently, but I want to leave you with this last one, which can be applied to any moment in your life, including the other 4 ways that we discussed, which is mindfulness and savoring your life experiences fully. Being present means there's more of you that is fully available to experience everything that's happening to you in the moment, which means you're going to be enjoying the process of getting to the finish line rather than just finishing the race. By differentiating instant gratification from long-term happiness, you can now be more mindful and present, not just for the results, but also the process that actually gets you there. I hope you really enjoyed watching this video on what hedonic adaptation is, how to identify when it happens to you in life, and different ways of getting off the hedonic treadmill sometimes. If you like this video, make sure to give a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel for more such videos on adventure travel and intentional living. See you next time and have a wonderful day.